Hey, what's up you guys? I'm back with another speed build. It's been a long time since I've done one. I was having some technical difficulties, so the speed build that I was originally going to post, which is the house to the left of the build I'm working on, did not work out. However, I did post some screenshots on my Instagram. I decided to give it another go, and I struggled in the beginning, which is why you didn't get to see me putting together the shell, and I had already started painting when the video started. But everything else should be included, other than I believe I had a mishap at the very end decorating the front yard, but there'll be screenshots of that at the end of this video anyways. Most of the houses that I build I get inspiration from online, typically on Pinterest. I forgot to save this one, but in future videos I plan to keep those references and link them in the description so that way everybody else can check them out, especially when they're floor plans. I know a lot of builders love using floor plans offline. So here's where I start adding a lot of windows from Seasons. I thought they suited the vibe of the house pretty well. I didn't go overboard with windows, and usually I do, but I think for this build keeping the windows to a minimum was smarter. I tried putting the circle window in this peak. I kind of left it where it was, even though I wish it was a little bit lower. It just would not cooperate. So here I start working on the floor plan on the inside, and it did not work out quite how I wanted it to in dimension, so I make some changes later on. However, I still really do like how the floor plans turned out in here. This stair placement is actually what messed a lot of things up, because I really wanted the stairs to go in this spot, but it completely screwed up how I had the upstairs set up. So I made a pretty funky full bathroom upstairs to accommodate. I tried to put windows in every room in the house, but it doesn't always work out, but in this one it actually worked out pretty well to have at least one solid window for each room. This is honestly probably one of my favorite floorings in the game currently, is the hardwood floor that I just put down. It just looks so realistic, especially on high resolution, and when you zoom in for the screenshots, it looks amazing. I remember before I had a lot of packs trying to use the hardwood floors, and they were just so flat and boring, and so getting some of the more realistic ones, especially the new one from Cottage Living, love them. I had a little bit of trouble with the kitchen, and funny enough, as I wrap up this kitchen, you'll realize I totally forgot to put in a fridge. No idea how that happened or what went through my head where I completely forgot to include a fridge in here, but it happened. Luckily, I caught it before I did the screenshots, and there is definitely a fridge included in the screenshot that I think fitted really well. I also struggled with the counters and the cabinets in here for quite a while before I found a layout and a style that I thought looked good. I really wanted to put a tall cabinet in this corner, which is actually where the fridge ended up, but I just could not. I really wanted to use these Parenthood counters because I rarely get to use them because they never have a matching cabinet that I think looks good, which, hello, would love. So I kind of fidgeted around with stuff, changed a lot of stuff, but I still think it turned out pretty darn cute at the end. I also want to apologize for the fact that my Discord notifications keep popping up. I did not think to shut them off before I started recording for some reason, so you'll see a couple pop up until I remember to turn them off between a couple of film clips. after I filmed this, I realized that I was just now experimenting with a lot of new things from several packs, such as Dream Home Decorator, Cottage Living, and Get Together, as they're all the most recent packs I actually bought, weirdly enough. So at a few points you'll see me fidgeting with stuff that's new, like the stove and oven that I put in there that are technically two separate pieces, and I honestly didn't play test this, so I'm not sure if they work out like this. However, if you download this from my gallery and it does not work, please let me know so I can go ahead and try to fix that for everybody and re-upload it. I honestly love this little coffee bar that I end up putting right here, and I, weirdly enough, really like this tile, and I use it as backsplash a lot, not necessarily this swatch, but I use it as a backsplash a lot in kitchens, and usually the one right next to it in build mode for bathrooms. I tried to stay to kind of a mix between warm and cool tones throughout the house. I try to keep most of the what would you say, the walls and so the internal shell warm tones while having cool tone accents like blues and greens, albeit there's definitely some bright yellows, but I try to use a lot of warm tone furniture as well. I used to have the red shelf. I can never remember the name of the creator. I used to have it, and when I deleted all of my mods to help this go smoother, I think it went right there with it, even though I thought I had it backed up separately. I plan to re-download it to make stuff like this a little bit easier, because in this tight corner, this placement of everything on the kitchen counters was not as easy as I would normally like it to be. However, I still think that little corner turned out so cozy. I absolutely love to put clutter in my builds, and you will notice that is part of why my builds take as long as they do, let's be honest. When I get to the entryway, you will still see me just filling this entryway shelf with clutter items to make it look a little more lived in. So as I'm wrapping up the kitchen, I believe I move on to the dining room next, and I kind of tweak this entryway a few times here. I absolutely love how this dining room turned out, and one more time, I need to oogle about this freaking floor. This hardwood floor is seriously my favorite in detail, and I think it complemented the warm orangey tone woods in this room so well. It's a pretty tight fit in this room, and like I said, I did not get the chance to play test this before uploading the video, but I do believe that there should be just enough room for your sim to get in, out, and around everything if you decide to download this, even with all the decorations and whatnot in the corner. There should be a just big enough path for them to maneuver around the room. So what I haven't mentioned yet, but you could probably have guessed by the title, is that I wanted this to be a plant lover's home. So this is about the point where I start just absolutely throwing the indoor decor plants all over the place. I started with the light fixture that I believe comes with Seasons, that's supposed to be for Winterfest, that has the like wreath looking greenery around it, which I thought was a great little touch to the kitchen since there was only so much space to put plants in there. But the dining room is where I started to really go all out with things that were related to plants. So here it kind of jumps to the next clip where I start working on the bathroom, which I actually had a lot of fun with. I don't like a lot of the shower and tub combos that we have, so I decided to merge this standalone shower with the tub and kind of make my own shower curtain here. At first I put this spandrel up thinking it would look better with the curtain that I was trying to put up. I think I later decided to take that spandrel down and just have the curtain rod up because it was the perfect width, as you can see here. At first I was really hesitant to keep this, and as I decorated the room I just fell more and more in love with it, and I love the combination of tub and standalone shower. I'll mention it again, I did not play test it, so I'm not fully sure if the shower part works, but I believe the bathtub should still work just fine. The crowded, cramped space of this bathroom, however, made it really hard to decorate once I put those curtains up. I decided to just kind of grit my teeth and bear through it while I was decorating because I honestly did not want to go through the process of taking them back down and putting them back up. I figured it was just more tedious than I was willing to do at the time. So here is another spot where I experimented with some new counters, and I actually loved how the color turned out against the rest of the bathroom. And I kind of play with how I decorate this wall a few times, and it takes me a little bit before I come to a full decision about what I want it to look like. Is it just me, or do you guys wish we had just a few more options about mats that we could use in front of the tub? I wish there was just a few that looked a little more meant for the bathroom, and maybe I'm missing a pack that has some better options, but right now I just don't have an option to use as a favorite because they all seem just a little clunky as bath mats, and they definitely need to make some that are a little more mid-sized. I feel like a lot of them are either too small or way too big in most rooms that I try to use them in. I love this cluttered little corner behind the curtain, and originally when I first finished it I was like, I don't know, that seems really cramped, but it just felt so right to have this hamper kind of tucked up in there so it could be hidden behind the curtain, like say when guest sims showed up, even though let's be real, realistically these curtains are never closing. So here's where you can see me kind of fidgeting with this wall again, changing the mirror, changing the light placement, all sorts of stuff. Like I said, it takes a bit before I come to a full decision about what I want this area to look like. I don't know about you guys, but I love putting small trash cans in the bathroom because I don't know if it's common everywhere, but I know most of my life I've grown up with at least a small trash can in the bathroom. But I've noticed a lot of people don't add things like that to their build, and I would say that I love adding that little bit of realism with little things like that. So I sized down that trash can because it just looked a little bulky in its normal size and placed it next to the toilet. I got these counters cluttered up, which also took some trial and error without that red shelf, but got it to work where I wanted everything eventually, and I think it turned out so cute in here, especially after I changed up the colors a little bit. I think it helped make the bathroom look a lot more warm and a little less dull, and I love the little tiny plant that I put there after sizing it down. And that's pretty much it for the bathroom. I decided to create a little more of an entryway, and this is about the spot where I decided this would be the back door to the backyard, as well as a cozy little office spot. Normally I would put a little office spot upstairs, but because I wanted upstairs to be nice and close quarters, this was the best spot for it. And at first, like a lot of the other rooms, I was super hesitant about this floor plan, but I think this corner turned out amazing, and I was still nervous about it right up until the point that I took my screenshots. It took me forever to decide how to put a railing on this because it kept clipping through the wall, which never happens for me, and I'm not sure why it was doing that. Maybe it's something I've just never noticed before, but it just did not quite look right. I ended up turning the stairs, which I think made a major improvement, but it still wasn't exactly what I wanted. So this definitely took a lot of tweaking before I got it to look how I wanted it to. And I was really nervous about this little nook between the entryway to the rest of the house and the stairs. However, I think it was just another spot that, even though it was awkward, turned out perfect for this build. Rarely do I place columns inside, but this was just the build that seemed perfect for it. I think it framed the stairs really well and framed into the entryway really well and kind of took away from some of the clunkiness of this area. And you might not agree, but again, I think the screenshots really help pull everything together. So here's another corner where there is an example of me loving clutter. I spent a lot of real time cluttering this up and adjusting everything to where I wanted it and making the shelf look lived in. Honestly, bookshelves do not have enough slots for the empty space that they have. It was amazing to me that so little stuff fit onto some of these spaces. I would love it if one day our bookshelves were upgraded and maybe we could finally have a decent amount of clutter without having to use mods and cheats all the time to clutter them up well. Rarely do I merge things, but this just turned out too cute not to. I used this picture that I believe came from Cottage Living most recently. I could be wrong though. And merged this vase of sunflowers and other flowers, and it just looks so cute next to those little succulents and the bunny with the daisy. Or a sunflower. It's hard to tell. A bunny should not be holding a sunflower that tiny, right? So I decided to basically make this just a cluttered little storage spot. I debated making it a reading nook at first, but I don't think it turned out. However, if you download this from the gallery, I am sure there is tons of space that you can kind of reincorporate the area into a little reading nook if you really wanted to. However, I stuck to just cluttering the absolute heck out of it. So the living room is the next room where I go absolutely all out with plants, and honestly, I think could have used more. I honestly thought I was using way too much. I was taking too much time, so I kind of left it where it was once I got done with the plants that you can see. But if I had to go back and do this again, I think I would definitely add some more small cluttered potted plants or, something like that, some hanging on the walls. I really do wish we had more options for hanging plants, and I know there's some newer packs that have them, but unfortunately they are packs that I just don't have, but hopefully I'll have them soon. Is it just me, or is placing coffee tables in this game a hassle? I feel like they are all way huge. I don't know about you guys, but my coffee table is definitely smaller than my couch and definitely not wider than my couch. I've never had a coffee table be bigger than my couch, and it seems like most of the good coffee tables in here are, and the ones that aren't just kind of look chintzy compared to most of the builds that I like to do. I settled on this one because I liked the mosaic type tiles in it, and I think the warm tone kind of brought everything in. But this is the point where I start cluttering the place with plants, and again, I don't completely like how it turned out, but I'm still pretty happy at the amount I managed to fit in here with the amount of detail and space that I had. Not gonna lie, finding artwork is probably one of the most difficult things for me in games that find spaces that I like. I definitely want to invest in some no CC paintings. I don't remember exactly what they're called, but I know that they've become pretty common. So as you can see, I tried kind of layering these shelves by the entryway to make one big entry shelf, and it just did not work. Maybe had I expanded it one more tile, it would have been fine, but I just did not feel like doing that and trying to screw with the floor plan again. So I ended up putting these wall to wall facing each other, and once again, putting a ton of clutter. But once again, I absolutely love clutter, so I think it turned out super cute. This is the spot where I tried to put a lot of super vibrant colors against some dark furniture, since it is right when you walk in the front door. I know if this were my house, I would love this cozy little storage spot and how bright and beautiful it is. I so wish we had more items like that little book and plant stack for clutter. I think it would help clutter spaces so much better without having to constantly raise and lower things to adjust them to make little stacks like that. Because I don't know about you guys, but I stack a lot of stuff in my house. I use a lot of bins in my house, So it just seems unrealistic to constantly have pieces of clutter that are standalone and super spaced out from other items. I had a bit of an easier time cluttering this shelf other than with this set of shoes that just wouldn't quite adjust right, which again is another reason I wish I had the red shelf still, but I am definitely going to go find that as soon as I am done getting this video uploaded. But I still love how I cluttered in here by sizing down boxes and stacking a bunch of stuff. I think I come across a stack of textbooks, or what's supposed to be textbooks, but because it looks kind of like loose strewn papers just kind of tossed in a random spot, it worked out really well. I specifically used those boxes on top just to fill slot holders so it would stop snapping to the top of the shelf. I find it really weird that there's not placeholders on the part underneath the jackets where there's all this empty space, but there's placeholders on top of the shelf. Who's even putting stuff that high up? I end up adding more bouquets of flowers right here and kind of sizing them up and down to look like little different flower arrangements. And as I'm editing this, I realized I meant to add a flower arranging table to this build and I never did. So if you guys want to see that in another Plant Lovers build, it will so happen. I'm definitely thinking about doing a Plant Lovers tiny home, where it's a super small home, super big garden, and the inside is just littered with plants, but that'll hopefully come when I get some more hanging plants. And who knows, maybe I'll get a little bit of CC for clutter because I am such a sucker for it. So before I wrap up this floor, and I'm sorry for any lag delays that come in here, I kind of decide to finish doing some tweaking around the house, including this entryway. It took me a sec, but I realized immediately that I wanted to use this table after I realized what I wanted to do with this space. I decide to put a nice big plant next to it, add a mirror, and I think it brings the entryway together so well. I really wish there were some better swatches for the Parenthood pack mirrors, but this bigger oval one ended up actually matching better anyways. Wanted to use that clock and didn't realize how big it was, so I went with this small one that I believe is base game. And this is where I went through and searched for debug clutter, so that way I could hopefully find some more items to kind of just like leave out on the entryway. I was hoping there was clutter for keys, even though there's realistically no reason for there to be, but I couldn't find one. If there is one, please let me know where I can find it. I later end up just adding like a notepad, I'm pretty sure, and then adjusting their spot on the table and leaving it at that. I don't know about you guys, but I so wish there was a way to organize debug items better. It is so difficult to sit and scroll through all of these individual items because I am currently using my MacBook to play and I don't have a Bluetooth mouse at this moment. So trying to use my trackpad to scroll through here proves to be quite the hassle. Let me know in the comments if it's any better with a Bluetooth mouse or if I'm honestly just going to be wasting my time and money hoping that that'll help my case. As you can see, I went through a lot of time looking through debug just to realize there was nothing really left to add to this spot, so I finally decided to get this stuff rearranged and move on. I started this build before the update with all the new swatches came out, and I so regretted it because I didn't want to try to update my game in the middle of this build just in case something went wrong or there was glitches and lag or whatever. Stuff happens with bugs and new updates, but going through this, I so wish I had some of those new swatches throughout the different furniture, and especially for curtains. I am so excited to play around with the new swatches and everything, and those curtains are just so exciting. I always have a hard time picking out curtains. So this is where I started on this little desk area, and like I said at the beginning, I was super hesitant about this, but it came together so well for such a small space. I took advantage of this desk, added some clutter, of course, some plants. I really didn't like the succulents on the wall for a bit. I didn't think it matched the aesthetic in the room very well, but it kind of grew on me after adding the clutter of everything else, and all the colors kind of came together, so I ended up leaving it how it is. I absolutely love trying to fill all the slots on this desk just so I could add clutter without it being a pain in the butt. It was really funny to sit and delete all of those one after the other. If you guys know if you can layer curtains over doors and the doors still be functional, please let me know. I would love to layer some sort of curtain over this door that kind of looks draped and pulled to the side that the handle's not on in the back. I think it'd be great. So here's where I started to struggle with the floor plan. I wasn't sure, but I honestly just jumped on it as fast as I could and decided to try to make it work. As I said before, it turned out super awkward, but honestly, I still think it's functional and works out with kind of the rest of the house. Even though it's cozy and cramped up here, it's still got that nice separation, the nice standalone shower. And overall, it's a functional space, and honestly, when it comes to bathrooms, I think that's what counts over design personally. For a second, I forgot dimensions, and trying to put a sink in here and seeing how big it was super frustrating. It definitely took a minute to plan this out. So what I end up doing here is just going ahead and bumping this wall out because there was really no other way to salvage this room. But in the end, I think it worked out pretty well. Given that it was a last minute edit, and luckily roofing it was super easy and not difficult to blend in, which is always a lifesaver when you're adding flooring to make sure that the roofing blends in well. So this is where I decided to use these cottage living shelves, and I blended them to me what was almost perfectly to have that little nook of a shelf but also keep some space there. I have barely used the cottage living shelving and cabinets and whatnot because they have some really interesting color swatches, and I haven't been a super big fan of them, but I think that the green accent in this room just worked out really well. And of course I wanted to use greens and oranges as accents all over this house, and again kind of keep that nice mix between warm and cool like I mentioned when I was working on the kitchen. Trying to do some of this clutter work in these closed quarters was pretty difficult, but I managed to get it done. Unfortunately, there is just no good screenshots of this room. If I'm not mistaken, I don't even think I got a good screenshot of the cabinets there. It was just super hard to maneuver. No matter what camera mode I used, no matter what angle I tried, I just could not get it. So I don't think there's any screenshots of this bathroom, but at least you can see how it was put together and kind of see the layout of it from above at the end of my screenshots. At this point, I've started working on the bedroom, and it took me a sec, but I knew kind of what I wanted to go for in here as far as furniture and clutter went, so it wasn't super difficult to make my decisions. I think it just took me a minute to for sure decide the exact layout. I was definitely one of those people who, when I first started playing Sims, I actually started playing on Sims 2, and I made those big boxy houses with gigantic rooms because as someone who grew up in tighter spaces in some places and bigger spaces in another, I'd always dreamed of big open floor plan homes with big giant fancy bedrooms. And playing Sims 4 is what made me realize that I love decorating more realistically and finding clutter and where things would truly sit if it were a place that I were living in. I love building as if this were a space that I planned on utilizing in my real life. I think it helps things become so much more cohesive than if I were just building for the theme. once again, I took way too long scrolling through debug looking for clutter and honestly just didn't find things that I felt suited what I was trying to do this time. So I ended up not really adding too much to these nightstands, but I don't think nightstands should be super duper cluttered anyway. I don't know about you guys, but I basically try to keep a bottle of water, my phone, and my glasses on my nightstand, and it for sure gathers other clutter, but it always gets super frustrating and it feels so relieving to have it cleaned off. So I figured just a couple of books and a flower and that sort of stuff would be really cute. And once again, loved this stack plant clutter, and this one functions as a light in the room too. So wish there was more stuff like that in Sims 4. Hopefully they'll add more of that now that they're kind of going back and adding to old packs and making them fresh again. I reused this stack up here in a different swatch, hoping it would look different enough, and now that I'm watching it back, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I really wasn't sure what to clutter the vanity with that I didn't feel like I had already used elsewhere in the house. I think it turned out all right. I don't know why I went from using greens in most of the house to deciding this room needed to have a bunch of pops of yellow, but I do not regret my decisions in the slightest. I experimented with some new stuff I hadn't used before, like that chair, and honestly, it just looks so good. Even though it seems really bare to me for how much I love clutter, it seems like, you know, they probably spend more of their time outside. So you can see I've left the entryway completely bare, and it's just that the space was so small. I do wish I added a picture to that little in-between wall, but I just did not think of it. I believe at this point I kind of get to editing some finishing touches on the exterior and begin working on the landscaping, but not before I remember that I really wanted to add a greenhouse to this build. So after I get this porch done, I get super excited to build what is my first successfully decorated greenhouse. I have never felt like I had enough plants to decorate a greenhouse, and between using debug objects and other decorative plants, I think it turned out great. So it definitely helped to have a lot more packs than I used to have. I kept the back porch super simple. I wanted to keep it kind of small so I could leave room throughout the rest of the backyard. But I still think the simplicity worked out really well, given that the rest of the backyard is pretty cluttered, and it doesn't look like it now, but just you wait. I tried to do something fun with the glass roofing, hoping to leave the edges plain, so I used a 3-part roof. But once I added the glass, I realized I just did not like how it looked, so I decided to make the entire thing a glass roof, and it looked so much better instantly, so I was really glad that I stuck with that. And thank God for floor-to-ceiling windows, because the paneling in here and the way I managed to make the dimensions work just turned out perfect. I keep using the word perfect a lot, but I want to put out there that I do not think my builds are perfect by any means, and I know for a fact there are amazing builders out there. One of my biggest inspirations is Simlissy. Watching her videos has given me so much inspiration over the course of the last couple of years. I uploaded a couple of speed builds, I want to say 2, maybe 2.5 years ago, and really they were only okay, but they were a start, and to me that's what matters, which is why you can still go watch them if you'd like to, and you can see my improvements from there. I definitely haven't stopped playing Sims, even though I stopped uploading videos, so I will say that I think my skills have improved tremendously since I last uploaded a speed build. BB.move objects cheat coming in clutch for this build, by the way. If we did not have that cheat, I couldn't imagine trying to put things together like this without it looking super clunky. I can't say I have ever been in a greenhouse that wasn't super cluttered. I will say most greenhouses I've been in usually have like shelving with plants and like fruits and vegetables, but I wasn't sure exactly how to make that work in game without it being a lot more effort than I really had the time and energy for at this point. But it's not to say I won't experiment with it later, and I wanted to include a pretty thorough garden outside anyways, so I figured all of these potted decorative plants in a seating area would actually work out really perfect. I know that this is a spot I would love to sit and have coffee on a warm, dewy morning. I liked that pendant light in there, however, it definitely looks a little bit out of place, but honestly, I don't think if I were playing, I would pay that much attention to it. I know if I were in there, I would think that that light was so perfect in that room, and I think it looks so cute when it's dark. I know I used this little plant on a cart twice. You can see the first one inside to the right in the greenhouse, but with this little wagon, I know there's a swatch really similar that matches. So once again, I was hoping using two things that were the same but with a different swatch wouldn't hurt. And honestly, I think it came together really well, and because it changes the color of the flowers too, I think you can barely tell that they're the same thing, especially at the two different angles. I tried adding flower boxes, and for some reason the first one snapped and the second one just would not go into place, so I gave up. But it's not to say that I left that spot bare. But unfortunately, apparently it did cut out me building this little farm plot at one point. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but obviously it was super simple. I just used the low-lying fence in a brown shade. I added the large plant plots. I don't remember exactly what they're called. But I added those, and I added some plants at the very end. I tried getting a little video recording of a sim watering some plants in those flower beds, but unfortunately it just did not save properly. So after that, I moved on to kind of decorating around. I love to make little seating areas under trees, but usually I like to put them next to a pond or something similar, but this was just the perfect spot for this, just to look over all of his plants and look into the greenhouse. I say his because the randomized sim I put in here was a dude, so please don't think that there's an impression that I made a specific sim for this. I think there's so many different sims that could live in this house, even if they're not exactly plant lovers, but I definitely intended this house to be for someone who's super outdoorsy and loves to spend time in their garden. I love clutter, as I've said a million times in this video, so putting a bunch of plants in one big plot makes me so happy, and it's part of why I love doing plant-loving Sims homes and landscaping. It just makes so much difference in the builds that I do. I'm sorry for my pause and thought. It was just hard to think of the right words. But it really does stand out when you use all these bright colors and plants against what's usually a pretty boring green backyard, front yard even. So this is the point I kind of start to wrap things up. I think the video of me working on the front lawn got cut out, so I'm pretty sure we're coming up on the screenshots. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed my build. It will be available to upload on the gallery as soon as this video is uploaded to YouTube. And I would love to see you guys download it, see your thoughts, see your critiques. Feel free to comment below if you guys have any tips or tricks you'd like me to go over, or if you simply just have some requests for a build style. I am so looking into making shells for people and sharing them, and I would love to do that based off of your guys' comments, so get down there, type away, let me know what you guys want to see. just wanted to say thanks for watching again, and I hope you enjoyed, and here's the screenshots.